three. Boston Celtics take game 3. They're 2 wins away from a title.
What is this?
I can't.
What are you, valedictorian?
Harvard, did you park the car in Harvard?
Yeah, I am down here in Harvard, Molly. Listen, I've been watching the show. I've been missing off of First Take, so I figured if I was going to come on here, I had to do it from Harvard. I had to come on here and drop some real championship knowledge because, I mean, outside of Richard Jefferson, I'm the only person that's holding an NBA ring at the network, so I decided to bring some knowledge, some real championship knowledge to First Take this morning.
You know what?
Yeah,
first of all, I have absolutely no comeback for that.
I have no words either. I need
I
more
will
caffeine.
say this to you, Kendrick Perkins. You've completely lightened my mood because I'm so ticked off I can't even put it into words. But I will tell you, you have lightened my mood, and I would tell you that outfit is entirely appropriate. Because I got to tell you, I did the show yesterday near Harvard. Okay? That's where I did the show from. So I know exactly where he's at. It's right by the campus of Harvard. He's not joking. It's appropriate considering the school lessons the Boston Celtics handed out last night. Let's get it on because I got a whole bunch of stuff on my mind.
Okay, let's get it. All right, guys, game 3 in the books. The Celtics taking the 2-1 series lead. Jaylen Brown scoring 27 points. Jason Tatum added 26. The Celtics beat back another third-quarter onslaught by the Warriors. In a 116-110 victory, Marcus Smart added 24 points. Meanwhile, Steph Curry led Golden State 31 points, 6 threes. He had 15 points in a 33-25 third quarter by the Warriors, but was hurt late in the fourth after Al Horford rolled into his leg on a loose ball. Curry said post-game he expects to play. Here's Steve Kerr on what got the dub.
I thought the offensive rebounds were just a killer. You know, I think they had like 20-something second chance points. And that was really the difference in the game. You know, we made several stops, especially in the second half, where we had a chance to, you know, cut into the lead or make a little push, and they got offensive boards. So those were tough.
How do you feel you played?
Like,
what was the difference this game?
I just think I never found a rhythm. Really on both ends of the floor. So not enough force, but just got to find the rhythm quicker. I was soft. That's what was most disappointing to me for us.
His son's a cutie, though. By the way, the score is 116-100. I think I said that right. Big Perk with the Twitter fingers, not holding back. Looks like Draymond was more prepped for his post-game podcast than the actual game. Just an observation. Never mind me, though. Carry on. All right, Stephen A., you are up first. What is the biggest reason for the Warriors' loss?
I'm going to do something a little bit different today.
Okay.
Oh no. We're going to a stand-up?
Let me tell y'all something.
Oh, no.
I have a photo of these two individuals right here. I want to preface my comments by saying both of these dudes are going to the Hall of Fame. Both of these dudes are 3-time champions. Both of these dudes have gone to 6 NBA Finals. As a coach here, as a player there, we know what Steve Kerr did as a player. We understand that. But I'm talking about as members of the Warriors. We know what they've done over the last 6 years. That doesn't mean a damn thing this morning. What the hell was that, Draymond? We got to stop this nonsense right now. This is a motivational speech. This is not criticizing LeBron. This is not criticizing Draymond Green. This is motivation, my brother. 2 points. 2 damn points. All of that talking, 2 points. I got no problems with your podcast, my brother. I support it, okay? I love listening to you. I hope you keep doing it. But guess what? That ain't the priority right now. 2 damn points against the Boston Celtics. That's 2 games, Dre. 1 game you admitted you wasn't yourself, game 1. Game 3 last night, you said you played like you know what. Are you ready for somebody to look at you and say to you, Draymond Green, you are on the verge of costing the Golden State Warriors 2 titles? When you lost in 2016, y'all win that series in 5 if you don't get suspended for the game because you accumulated too many technical fouls. That's one title. Now if you lose to Boston because game 1 you didn't show up, game 3 you didn't show up, that we can't rely on you to show up for more than one game at a time. That's going to be a problem. Steph Curry needs you, bro. Klay Thompson needs you, bro. Jordan Poole needs you, bro. It's time. Period. You got to show up. The same things you did in game 2, getting in everybody's face, being disruptive, setting screens and picks, being physical, playing with force, letting the Boston Celtics know they're going to have to deal with you. That's what you got to do. Y'all can't go down 3-1 to Boston. You ain't winning 3 straight against Boston. This is it, Draymond. This is it. No more. You're a Hall of Famer. You're a 3-time champion. But you got to play. Because right now, Al Horford looks better than you. He's shooting the ball better. He's rebounding the ball better. He's defending better. You got to change that. Now let me transition to this man. Steve Kerr.
Don't break the monitor now.
One of the top 15 coaches in the history of basketball. Steve Kerr, we know how great you are. We know that you personify championships. Great leader, great coach, great man. You don't look so good in these finals, my man. You're down 2-1. What's a big reason why? I'll tell you why, Steve Kerr. You ever heard of the names Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody? 19-year-olds with size, with athleticism, particularly with Kuminga, who will play some defense. Why is that important? Even though they're young bloods that have never been in the finals, throwing them to the wolves like that. Of course, that's desperate. But this is desperate. Why? Because look at the rest of your team. They're bigger than you, Boston. They're more physical than you. They're more athletic than you. They come across as deeper than you. You got to stop. You got to answer that. You got Kuminga, who's played in 70 games, started 12 of you sitting on the bench until the last 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Moses Moody showed you flashes of what he could potentially do when you put him in a Dallas series, considering what you get from everybody else. You don't have a choice, Steve Kerr. And by the way, weren't they supposed to be prepared to some degree? You brought him here all this way just to have him ride on the bench? Jonathan Kuminga has got to play. Moses Moody, throw him up in there. Do what you got to do. But you can't play Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Wiggins and these boys 37, 38, 40 minutes. Not against this Boston team. You got to do something. The game 3 loss is on these 2 guys. And if you lose game 4, done. You're done. Floor's yours.
I think we should go to Harvard, if that's
Sure.
okay with
Yeah,
you.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Harvard, take it away.
Yeah. Take it away.
Yeah.
Commencement speech.
You know what? I'm just proud of Stephen A. for actually calling Draymond out, because it seems like to me everybody be tiptoeing around Draymond and is afraid to call him out on what they've seen in his lack of production on the floor. Last night, Draymond Green was more of a liability than he was an asset. And I agree with Stephen A. At what point last night of the game do you say, you know what, let me try Kuminga. At least he's not scared. At least he's going to look at the basket. At least he's going to be aggressive offensively. At least I know he has the athleticism to protect the rim and be able to jump with Robert Williams, who's, by the way, playing on a 50% knee. At the end of the day, here's the thing, right? People keep coming and asking me, is it personal with me and Draymond? No, it's never personal. But my whole thing is, just like we criticize and talk about the game of basketball when it comes down to everybody else, he's not exempt for that. He can get criticized. Listen, he didn't play. He talked all the noise after game 2. He did all that tackling and all that unnecessary, jumped up the game, and he poked the bear in Jaylen Brown. Okay, it's cool. You could poke the bear, but at least help your homies fight the bear. He was nowhere to be found last night. And my thing is, accountability runs deep. All across the board, nobody is exempt, including Draymond Green. Go ahead.
So I appreciate both of you guys and your passionate remarks. I think that was a great motivational speech. I do. But don't you think we need to calm down just a tad? Like, this is a series, right? There are ebbs and flows in a series, correct? I just want to make sure. Because even though Boston got game one, Stephen A., would you agree that we thought Golden State should have won game one?
No.
They didn't.
I understand they didn't.
No. I'm saying
they were in
I can't say you should have won a game one when they went from being down 15 to being up to being up.
I understand. It was a collapse.
I mean, they blew them out in the second half.
It's a collapse. So
they shouldn't have won game one. If you get blown out, that's one thing. If you lose a game, tight game, blah blah blah, that's different. When you get beat down in a game, that's not a game you should have won. You got beat down.
Okay, so both teams are undefeated after losses in the playoffs. So they respond back in game two because you're allowed to have poor games, right? Okay. And then in game three, even though they got blitzed from the beginning, and I give Jaylen Brown a lot of credit, look, I'm starting to believe in Boston too. And I get it. There is accountability for Draymond Green, guys. Like, and I understand that, Perk, your tweet about the podcast, him being more prep.
I ain't saying nothing about the podcast.
I know you didn't. I'm gonna go in on that.
I like
in a minute. I'm gonna go in on you on that in a minute, Perk. Finish my point here about Draymond.
Okay.
You want me to start with you, Perk? You want me to start with you?
Start with
okay,
me.
Let me start with you, Perk. Let me start with you here.
Energy this
I'm gonna bring it to you. I'm gonna match it,
Run it over here.
You ain't gonna punk me. You gonna sit up there and address a podcast on a tweet. Let me tell you, my brother, LeBron James has a shot that he does throughout the regular season. Does that distract him from what he's doing? Oh, I'm sorry, because I saw Stephen A. on a pregame show with Adam Silver, and everybody was praising LeBron James for becoming a billionaire with the industry that he's created that started with media while he was actually playing as a player. So you can't sit up there and tell me, keep the same heat about a podcast when he was the most impactful player in game two. Keep it about that. Because he's done the podcast since November 15th of 2021, my man. It just didn't start a couple of months ago. He's been doing this for a while. So I'm not condoning the poor game that he had because he had a horrific game. He's owned it. But let's stop with all this. You can't have a podcast and participate and play basketball, and it's a distraction. And I love him. Isaiah Thomas went on a tangent about it too, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, these takes, they seem a little bit casual. They seem a little bit outdated. There's enough time in the day, Perk, if you allocated 8 hours to play basketball and another 8 hours for sleep and 2 hours for a podcast, it still leaves you 6 hours left in the course of the day. There's enough time you could do both, man.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm not trying to hear all that. And I love how you try. And I love how you tried to move the goalposts so that it could fit your agenda to come on here and say what you had to say and address Isaiah Thomas instead of addressing what I said in the actual tweet. Not in that tweet did I say in that tweet that I tweeted out that Draymond Green shouldn't be doing the podcast?
No,
did I say he should?
Prepped.
Did I say no? I said he was more prepped. More prep for his podcast than the actual game. What does that have to do with me? That didn't say nothing about me saying, Jay Will, he shouldn't be doing the podcast. But I like how you tried to twist the words up because you actually wanted to get that in. No. You wanted to push that narrative this morning, but you needed to point that energy at somebody else because I never said he shouldn't have did the podcast. I was saying he didn't look like he was prepared for the game last night. And what the eye test showed the world was he wasn't prepared for the game last night. He wasn't in his defensive rotations. He wasn't boxing out. He wasn't looking to be aggressive. He wasn't a Draymond Green. Hell, right now in this series, he has 15 total points in this series. He has 15 total fouls. You telling me he's focused? You telling me he's locked in? You telling me that's the Draymond Green that you know or the Draymond Green that the Warriors need at this moment to go out there and actually beat a Boston Celtic team who is deep and don't give a damn who you are? But Jay Will, I love how you tried to twist it up. Never once did I ever say that Draymond Green shouldn't have a podcast and be playing.
Let me interject for one quick second. Kendrick Perkins is absolutely right. He never once said that he shouldn't have the podcast, but he brought up the podcast, and I get your point. Go ahead and respond to what Perkins had to say.
Perk, it takes one to know one because you just twisted the narrative. I never said that Draymond Green was bringing the kind of energy he needed to bring. I never came out and said, I didn't back up his play last night at all. Did. Well, you just kind of did.
I didn't say
you just kind of put words in my mouth. You spoke for me. What I'm saying, though.
I said what I said.
So
Go ahead.
Perk, all
Let
I'm
him
saying
speak,
is
I said what I said.
Let him speak, Perk. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay.
being prepped and executing are two different things. You're going to tell me Draymond Green wasn't prepped for the game?
Come on. Can I chime in now? Let me chime in on that.
No, executing and playing hard, Stephen A.
Time out. Let me chime in. Now that's nitpicking. I'm getting ready to answer it. Let me answer it. That's nitpicking, Jay. At the end of the day, if you're speaking about a game, you're talking about the performance. And based on the performance, you're surmising what a person was prepared to perform. Kendrick Perkin brings up the fact that Draymond Green has 15 points and 15 fouls in the first 3 games of the NBA Finals. We all know that this man's a future Hall of Fame. He's a 3-time champion.
Yes.
We've seen Draymond Green play significantly better. He himself said that he played sorry. He himself said he wasn't ready to play the way he was supposed to play in Game 1, which is why he came out and performed in Game 2. So let's not be so literal, y'all, when we're taking every little word and go, all right, well, does that mean he wasn't prepared? No, your performance indicated that you wasn't ready because we know Draymond Green can play and should play much better than that. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
That's all we're saying here.
Yeah, we can.
So we don't need to be so literal.
Go ahead.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Let him go ahead, Stephen A. So when he finished, I could split his wig at the end. Go ahead.
First of all, you don't want to split nobody's wig on this show and in life.
Yeah, I am. Go ahead. Finish up.
I
Go
am
ahead.
not
Finish
sitting up
up.
here on national TV condoning the way Draymond Green has played. I am not. He said he played like bleep. He played like bleep last night. I saw it. There are a lot of other reasons as well on top of Draymond Green's play in which this team needs to be better. We should also ask questions about Jordan Poole, him averaging 19 points during the regular season, him averaging 10 points in the NBA
I'm going to get to him. I'm going to get to him.
And we can also talk about the way they targeted and they drove to the rim from the lack of size protection. So if we want to go into Steve Kerr and a little bit of the rotations, yes. I'm not making
pick and roll for Steph Curry all day long. So you got to do something more than that.
All I'm saying is it just felt like, Perk, you took the low-hanging fruit on being prepped. And when the guy addressed it from the beginning. He addressed it from the podium that he played like trash.
Let me explain.
Seemed like a casual
explain
take,
to you.
That's all I was saying.
I'm gonna give you a championship. I'm gonna give you some championship knowledge and a guy that had played in 140 playoff games and 50-some game sevens. Let me explain something to you, Jay Will.
Just at a different level, but I won one.
But you didn't win one when you had to win 4 games in 4 games in a 7-game series. See, when you playing in the series, then you have to be tunnel vision because listen, this is not the bubble. No disrespect to the Los Angeles Lakers, but you're traveling. Okay, so going into a hostile environment, having young players that are around you that are inexperienced, like Andrew Wiggins, like Jordan Poole, and you're Draymond Green and you're the heart and soul of that team, you have to have a different type of focus because it's not just about you. It's about the others that look up to you. And I have said this time and time again, Steph Curry is the best player on the team. Make no mistake about it. Steph Curry is the best player on the team. But when it comes to being the heart and soul of the team, that's Draymond Green. And if his energy and his focus is not there, it's going to affect the play of everybody else.
Hold that thought. Let me chime in here. My diatribe was a motivational point. And let me throw myself on Front Street. We all know I've been with the Warriors all year. I want my pick to be right.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna front. I ain't gonna front.
Your pick is not going to be right.
Fine, Molly.
I don't know about that.
All I'm trying to say to you is this. I started off the season with the Warriors, and I refused to jump off the ship, even though I knew it was a challenging matchup for them because I've been saying that, okay? And what I'm thinking about, and when I look into that camera and I talk to Draymond Green, my point to Draymond Green is you know you could do better. And more importantly, you know you should do better. We understand you undersized. We understand that you fighting against cats. I mean, Robert Williams is bigger than you. Al Horford is bigger than you. Al Horford right now looks better than you in the series. What you did in Game 2, what we're saying is you got to do that every game because they need you to do this. You can't miss out on Game 1, miss out on Game 3, acknowledge it, and we're supposed to be okay with that because Boston is the kind of person. Listen. They're exceptionally well coached. Their defense is elite, particularly in the half court. They're coming at you. They've got a 2-1 lead. They smell blood. They're wearing Steph Curry out. And right now we're looking at Steph Curry. Thank God Klay Thompson showed up. It's minimal help. You brought up Jordan Poole. He has come down to earth. I take back what I said about Lethal Weapon 3. It doesn't exist because that has not been Jordan Poole. So we got to throw that out. But we also need to point out Kendrick Perkins is right on point in terms of his basketball analysis as it pertains to what he has thrown out, what we're seeing from Golden State. Some things you can't help, but the things you can help, because you're championship tested and you know better, there is no excuse for Steve Kerr not to have these young brothers at least ready to throw them in the fire. Take your chances. Try something.
You get why he's so impassioned.
I understand it.
It's because he wants his pick to be right.
I get it, but we have this intent.
Well, Molly, I did acknowledge that. I did admit that. I didn't deny it.
telling
I didn't
him.
lie about it.
No, I get
Okay?
it. All I'm saying is that we have this intensity like this damn series is over. It's not over. And that's my big point. But Perk, I kick this whole thing off by saying that is my point. It is 2-1 right now. Draymond did play horribly last night. But we act like this team they had a 1-point lead in the third quarter when they made a run. They're still right there.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Perk.
See, this is the thing that makes my skin crawl when we go off topic. We came on here today and say the biggest reason Golden State lost, not the series. We're talking about the game from last night. Nobody on here said the series is over. I still think the series is going 7 games. I know better than to sit up here and come on here and say that the series is over just because they're up 2-1. No, I'm not going to do that. We talking about why did they lose last night? What was the biggest reason? And my biggest reason that they lost last night was because of their heart and soul. And Draymond Green wasn't there, and his focus wasn't there.
Understood, but Perk, I feel like what's happening to you in the media world is, we don't live in a world as absolutes as athletes, man. It's a series of things that go wrong. It's never just one dude that deserves all the blame.
I didn't say that.
You're saying he's the biggest reason they lost.
That's
and what I'm trying to tell you is, was his performance bad?
He's the leader of that team.
He's the leader of that team.
That's
was
why.
it horrific? Yes. They were still in the game, and there have been a lot of times in your playoff series.
But Jay, that was the question. We do have to give a biggest. You need to give. Everyone needs to give a biggest
Not just
reason.
that, Jay. I have to ask you a question. Perk, I'll let you back in a second. I have to ask you a question. They're down 18. They come back and they storm back. Steph Curry explodes in the third quarter. They take the lead. If Draymond is on his game, do they lose last night? Based on what you saw. Based on what you saw in the second half from Steph Curry, particularly in that third quarter. Do you believe that Golden State...
I think they have a better chance to win, but I'm giving Boston a lot of credit for getting the game.
But wait, of course we know Boston's legit, and of course they deserve credit, but the point is this. If you believe, if I believe, if Big Perk believes, if Draymond Green had played better, that they win that game, then why is it beyond the pale to sit up there and say, yo, Dre, you got to step up because you're that big of a difference maker. We're paying homage to him.
I'm not saying
We're
that
paying homage to him.
But I've seen a lot of games throughout the course of my life where players have played bad and they still have found ways to win games.
We're just talking about last night, what we saw last night. And I'm telling you this last point, Kendrick Perkins, we going to stand here on national television, okay? And we going to take a moment to give Kevin Durant some love. They are now like 1-9 in the finals or something like that without Kevin Durant, okay? I mean, this is Kevin Durant is, we know this, but it's important to point out because he takes his shots, he takes his criticism, and I'm somebody that gives it to him on occasion to be real about it. But I'm looking at that last night and I'm saying to myself, if this brother was here, some of this stuff would not be happening. This would not be happening if Kevin Durant was still on this team. So let's take a moment to give one of the great players the love he deserves. Go ahead, Kevin.
And Jay Will, Stephen A. Look, after game 2, I also tweeted out and I said, Draymond Green talked this talk and he backed it up. Beyond the stat sheet, he affected this game, in my opinion, and he was the reason that Golden State won. See, nobody sees those type of things, and I don't care. We could pull up from what happened last night. But my thing is this, Jay Will, and I want to see your face real quick, if we could go up on the split screen. Here's my thing. Here's my question to you.
No,
here's my.
That's
my brother, man. That's what we do.
I know, But here's my question to you. We heard Steve Kerr, we heard Draymond Green, and we heard Klay Thompson complain about the chants or the rants that Draymond Green got in the Garden last night, okay? Let me ask you a question. If Draymond Green was really, really, really locked in, if Steve Kerr, who played and won the championship and had to go to Utah, which is absolutely a hostile environment when he was with the Bulls and won, if they were totally locked in, you telling me that they wouldn't have been ready for that moment and known that they was walking into that type of environment?
Stop right there. Right there. The point that needs to be made. And by the way, KD, they're 2-9 without KD in the finals, by the way, not 1-9. Apologies. But let me say this to you. This is the point that needs to be made. We have learned what I've always known. Cleveland is not Boston. I'm talking about the city. I'm talking about the fans. Draymond Green was talking a lot. He backed that bad boy up in game 2. I don't know whether you were there last night because I didn't see you. But we were there. You've been there before.
Watch the whole game.
TD, I'm just talking about being there in terms of that noise. It's another level. These are highly intelligent basketball fans who are rabid as hell. And Draymond might have bit off a little bit more. I don't think he did. I think he can handle it. But I do think he was thrown for a loop last night by Boston. I ain't talking about the team. I'm talking about the city. It's a different level. And you can't be a visitor and don't bring your game to Boston. Boston is a different animal, y'all.
Wait, you think Dre was affected by the fans last night, his play?
I'm telling you, Molly, to be in that environment with those fans, F. Draymond screaming, boom. He's experienced it all before, don't get me wrong. But there's no one like Boston. It's hard. You'll be hard-pressed to find a fan base more hostile towards its visitors than Boston. Philly's bad. Philly can get on you. Boston is a different level. You got to be ready. And they were not last night outside of Klay and Steph. That's why we got a problem. And that's why, because I picked them and I want to be right, I'm putting an alarm on. Look, y'all, this is no joke.
Are you worried about Steph's injury?
A little bit, yeah, because anything that hobbles him, they were wearing him down before he got injured. He was grabbing the shorts. He was leaning on, and not to say that doesn't happen. They on him. Go ahead, Perk.
But listen, here's a point why I'm worried about Steph. Because between game 1, 2, and 3, Molly, you had about 3 or 4 days in between.
Yeah.
It's only one day in between, and you have a quick turnaround. Now, all of a sudden, you still, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, that personnel over there in Boston ain't changing. And guess what? That attitude ain't changing either, because that's a reflection of Ime Udoka. The way that them boys play in Boston is a reflection on how Ime Udoka approaches the game. We saw how infuriated he was in game 2, and I know he went back and challenged them for a physicality standpoint. Stephen A., you think game 3 was fired up. You wait till Friday night.
That's right, because they smell blood. We got to go. But they smell blood.
Better not keep Al Horford in drop coverage, though.
I feel you. That's right. Yeah. That's true.
And class is dismissed because I hear you need to go. Oh, my.
Carry on.
Just sip your tea.
How you have a 10X mug, man? I can't with you, dog.
Bye, Perk. Thank you for the smiles.
Y'all carry on now.
Behave yourself in the beam.
Enjoy Harvard.
Oh, my goodness.
I was at Harvard yesterday.
Still to come on First Take. Ice Cube joining the show live, going one-on-one with Stephen A. That'll be fun, talking all things basketball. And it was a night to forget for Draymond Green, but how much blame does he really deserve for last night's loss? Patrick Beverley joins that debate.
Stephen, you knew I was coming. You've been asking me to come for 3, 4, 5 years.
Jack Del Rio tweeted in response to a post about upcoming hearings on the events of January 6th, quote, would love to understand the whole story about why the summer of riots, looting, burning, and the destruction of personal property is never discussed, but this is hashtag common sense. Del Rio told reporters on Wednesday that he was just asking a question about events in the spring and the summer of 2020 that followed George Floyd's murder by a Minneapolis police officer. Take a listen.
Why are we not looking into those things? If we're going to talk about it, why are we not looking into those things? Because it's kind of hard for me to say. I can realistically look at it. I see the images on TV. People's livelihoods are being destroyed. Businesses are being burned down. No problem. And then we have a dust-up at the Capitol. Well, there's nothing burned down. And we're not going to talk about, we're going to make that a major deal. I just think it's kind of two standards. And if we apply the same standard and we're going to be reasonable with each other, let's have a discussion. That's all it was. Let's have a discussion. We're Americans.
Later on Wednesday, Del Rio apologized after calling the Capitol insurrection a dust-up. I made comments earlier today in referencing the attack that took place on the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, referencing the situation as a dust-up was irresponsible and negligent, and I'm sorry. Del Rio saying that in a statement posted on Twitter. I stand by my comments condemning violence in communities across the country. I say that while also expressing my support as an American citizen for peaceful protest in our country. I fully supported all peaceful protests in America. I love, respect, and support all my fellow coaches, players, and staff that I work with and respect their views and opinions. RC joining us now. Ryan, great to have you with us. And I want to start with you. Just your take on this whole situation, Ryan.
I think the first thing I want to say, because a question that will be asked of players, I heard Keyshawn say he would have a hard time playing for Jack Del Rio. I could play on a team that Jack Del Rio coaches on, because this is going to eliminate the people that try to compare wrongs, right? They're going to be like, well, you play with, guys that, have been accused of domestic violence or sexual assault or all of those things. So I could play on a team where Jack Del Rio's the coach. Let's get that out of the way so people aren't comparing wrongs. Now let's talk about what Jack Del Rio said and why it's important. Jack Del Rio basically compared two things to make one thing worse than the other. He wanted to say that the community riots or the community protest after, whether it's Jacob Blake, after it's George Floyd, that these things are hurting the community. I agree with that. I agree that those protests shouldn't happen that way. But that doesn't make what happened in the Capitol any better. It doesn't make 138 officers being injured, both from the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police, okay. It doesn't make a situation where it is of national security as you are rushing the Capitol. It doesn't make it okay because there are these other things going on. That's what people try to do. They try to separate wrongs. And it's also, for me, the insensitivity in which he approached it. When you're talking about these protests, if you're speaking after Jacob Blake, there are people that lost their lives. Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people during that protest. There were officers out there with AR-15s or officers out there with assault rifles policing the people who were protesting. And so now when you look at a person in Jack Del Rio that has to sit in the room in Washington that is 85% African American, and you have to know as a player, he is either not aware or doesn't care enough about the people he works with or the people or communities they come from to be smart enough not to say this. My problem and issue is when you're talking about what Jack Del Rio is saying, he's saying this, that one wrong is better because of the people involved. Now, you could think that's because those people think like him or feel like him or support the same things that he supports. Or you could think that's because those people look like him. Many of the people in the rooms Jack Del Rio coaches in don't look like him. Many of the people in the rooms that Jack Del Rio is coaching in have feelings and are affected by what happens in communities where George Floyd is killed, what happens in communities where Alton Sterling is killed, what happens in communities where Philando Castile is killed. In those communities, those people are hurting. Those protests come because those people are hurting, those people are tired, those people are undervalued, those people are mistreated. And when those people are killed while not being armed by police, it is about police brutality. And the reaction to that is the protest. The reaction to that is the riot. The Capitol was stormed because people felt cheated. And because those people felt cheated, people's lives were put in danger. And he called
5
that
lives were lost.
dust-up.
5 lives at least were lost.
The reason
Officers.
5 lives were lost. And the reason he called it a dust-up is because he agrees with those people. And many of those people don't agree with the people that he coaches. And so when I look at Jack Del Rio, he can't treat me a certain way. Jack Del Rio can't talk to me a certain way because to me, there's always going to be an underlying tone there that involves race, that involves thought. And so whereas for Coach Dick LeBeau, everything he ever told me, I would run through a wall for that man, and that man could talk to me in every way, in any way that he wanted to, because he loved us and he cared about us. And because he loved and cared about us, he wouldn't talk to us in any way. He wouldn't treat us in any way. Jack Del Rio don't have that. Now, I've walked around ESPN with Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio is fine. Jack Del Rio never said anything to me to make me feel uncomfortable. But now I know how Jack Del Rio thinks. I know what he feels, and I will never be able to unsee or unhear that, and neither will the players in his locker room.
Fair enough. Here's the thing that's interesting, and I don't disagree with everything that you highlighted. I'm in accordance with you in terms of his level of insensitivity, particularly as it pertains to the George Floyd killing and the things that emanated from that. I certainly am glad that he apologized for the ignorant statement that he made in terms of calling the insurrection, per se, at the U.S. Capitol a dust-up, highly inappropriate, highly insensitive, highly ridiculous. And Jack Del Rio should be embarrassed that those words came out of his mouth. But here's where I'm going to give a pause and leave Ryan Clark up there because I want to say something to him, especially since you're doing such a great job with the pivot on your podcast and you're reaching so many lives with what you're doing. See, Stephen A. a little bit different. And let me tell you why. What would appall some people like a Keyshawn Johnson? What would make Ryan Clark say, oh, I know how you feel now, okay? So you can never talk to me a certain way. Well, first of all, that's not entirely true because Jack Del Rio could have never talked to you that way. He never would have pulled that off. He uttered a syllable like that towards you. That would have been a wrap. So please, that was long before he said this stuff. So let's stop that. And he certainly would never say that to Sean Johnson. And the likelihood is that if he was directly communicating with players one-on-one, that would be different. That's not what the man was doing. And we don't want to address this, so I'm going to. He's white. He's not black. And there's an awful lot of white people that cannot in any way identify with the plight that African Americans feel physically, emotionally, spiritually, subliminally. The list goes on and on and on. When are we going to stop expecting them to do that? We have to get to a point where we look at a Jack Del Rio and what he said and actually be gratified that there was somebody that was willing to be open about their ignorance. Guess why? Jack Del Rio shouldn't be vilified. He shouldn't be somebody that's excoriated and nobody wants to talk to him again. You know what black people should be willing to do? They should be able to willing to walk right up to Jack Del Rio. Hey, how you doing? Let's have a conversation about what you said. Let me use this as an opportunity to educate you. Because if we're ever going to have any hope towards making this world a better place, making somebody cower and hide and muzzle themselves and never feeling free to speak up only disguises what they're feeling, which harbors and harnesses their ignorance. Therefore, they walk around feeling ignorant, being oblivious to the kind of things that plague them and us and our society, and none of us get any better. But when he was willing to be open, I found nothing offensive about what he said. I thought it was ignorant. I thought it was ill-informed. I thought it was foolish for him to think that, but I appreciated the fact that he was honest enough to say, we're all Americans. Let's have a conversation. He didn't say something, go hide, not want to talk to people. He actually invited a conversation. You know what that means, Ryan Clark? That means you and your boys, okay, with the pivot, should go and talk to Jack Del Rio. Because he invited you. He invited you. He said, let's have a conversation. So let's have the conversation. Because this nation is never going to recover from the divisiveness that has plagued us, from the politicians that continue to feed that divisiveness that plagues us all while they sit up on Capitol Hill, being indentured servants to lobbyists at our expense. We're never going to get better as a society if everybody gets to duck and weave and hide because they're afraid of the shrapnel of criticism that's coming their way. Jack Del Rio spoke. Neither of us agree with him. You eloquently articulated why you disagree with him. But now's an opportunity because he said, quote, let's have a conversation. That gives Ryan Clark, a brilliant brother, who's done a great, great job in media, who did a great job, won a Super Bowl championship as a football player, who has credibility across the nation. That gives you and others an opportunity to walk right up to him and to say, let me educate you about this experience so you'll know exactly why we were put off about it. As opposed to somebody like my brother, Keyshawn Johnson, who's like, I could never play with him. Keyshawn Johnson's another brilliant brother. What do you mean you can't play for him? You can't talk to him? You can't correct him? So somebody makes a mistake, they're foolish, their ignorance gets exposed, and you want to cut them off forever? No, that's not how we're going to get better. We get better by taking the license to educate those who need to be educated, especially when they give us the opportunity to do so.
All right. Appreciate the conversation and don't mean to dismiss it, but there's another important matter that I need to get to now. We want to make a clarification to something Christopher Mad Dog Russo said Wednesday on First Take. So during a discussion on how the NFL has handled itself in the wake of the sexual misconduct civil allegations brought against Deshaun Watson by 24 different women, and making the point the NFL has been reactive and not proactive in handing out discipline, Christopher mentioned past examples with NFL players and included defensive end Randy Gregory. That's not the name he meant to say, now with the Denver Broncos, but formerly with the Dallas Cowboys. And although Chris did not say this, it could have left the impression with some viewers the NFL disciplined Gregory for allegations similar to those against Watson. And I want to make it very clear that Gregory's suspensions stem from violating aspects of the NFL's substance abuse policy and had nothing to do with any misconduct against women. We will leave it there. Coming up here on First Take, we know he loves his LA Lakers, but how does he feel about them with their new coach, Darvin Ham? Ice Cube himself live on First Take in just a bit. And he had more fouls than points in Game 3. What does Draymond need to do in Game 4 to even the series? We get into that as well.
Time to get up with a Golden State nightmare, a fourth quarter meltdown, and a real concern about Steph Curry's health. How much trouble are they in? Plus, a Boston jeer for Draymond. He talked the talk going into the Game 3, but he didn't exactly back it up. What the heck happened to him last night? And Aaron Rodgers needs a new #1 target. Do the Packers actually have Devontae Adams' replacement already on the roster? Talking about that and a lot more as we say good morning to you and welcome to Get Up. I'm Ryan Smith in for Greeny, who is in Boston for the NBA Finals. And look who's at the Seaport with me this morning. Pat Bam is back.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's up, baby?
Happy
Thanks
about that. Also, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Also, good to see these guys. Vince Carter, Dan Graziano also joining us. Ryan Clark's going to be along in just a little bit. So let's go and kick it off with the game of the night. Game 3, Warriors Celtics in Boston. Series at 1 apiece. Getting ready for this one. There's Draymond, Jason Tatum all ready to go. Take it to the second quarter. Celtics up 10. Green, pass stolen by Al Horford. Finds Jason Tatum, who finds Brown for the dunk. Jaylen Brown, strong move there. Celtics up 12 after the break. Third quarter, Warriors down 9. Steph Curry pulls up from 3. Good. Plus the foul on Al Horford. Horford called for the flagrant. You see Steph Curry landing on top of Horford's foot. Curry cuts it to 5 after the made free throw. But then the Warriors get the ball back. Andrew Wiggins to Otto Porter for 3. A 7-point possession. Warriors now down 2. Under 4 minutes remaining. Same score. Curry from 3. Good. Warriors go up by 1. But the Celtics would respond. We take it to the 4th. Celtics already up by 6 at this point. Marcus Smart, pull up 3. Hits. Celtics up 9. 6 minutes to go, 9-point game, shot clock winding down. Look at Tatum through traffic. Driving, hitting, Paul Pierce, yes, loving that. Tatum, 26 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 5 minutes to go. Tatum to Smart, corner 3. He had 24 points. Celtics now up 14. Just over 4 minutes to play. Scary moment right here. Tatum misses the fadeaway, bodies all over the place trying to get the ball. You see Green shove Marcus Smart out the way. He gets his 6th foul. But why? Curry appears to be in some pain. Take another look. Al Horford seems to fall on his leg. Green unhappy with the officials after that play. And Curry actually remained in the game, but he would be taken out minutes later. Celtics win 116-110. Here's Curry on getting dinged up.
Obviously, be some pain, but I'll be all right. Figure out how it feels tomorrow and get ready for Friday.
I picked up my foul, pushing him off of him because he's screaming at the bottom of the pile. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'll take the foul. I'm going to get him off his legs, though.
The injury didn't force him out of the game, but I took him out down 14 with 2 minutes left because we weren't going to catch up. We'll know more tomorrow.
Okay, that's the key. We'll know more tomorrow. Want to bring in Vince Carter, Pat Bev back with us. All right, so straight away, what is your concern level for Steph Curry after seeing what you just saw?
No, I think he's fine. I think it's one of those things that, it probably hurts a little bit, when it happened. But I think he'll be good. I think he'll be ready to go. I mean, he better be ready to go. They're going to need him.
Exactly. And look, his specialty is moving without the ball, being all over the place. Can he do that with what you see right there if he's in pain, if he's not 100%, if he's not even close to 100%?
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough. He's been through a lot of injuries. I mean, not a lot, not any injuries that have caused him to be out, but I'm not worried about that. It's the finals. He's going to come out. He's going to come back ready. Like I said before, Golden State needs him. He better come out ready.
All right. Hey, Pat Bev says he's not concerned. Vince, are you concerned?
I'm not really concerned, and here's why. It's because he was still able to continue to play, and Coach Kerr said it. I took him out because we couldn't catch up. So to not further the injury, he was out there because they need him. They're going to do the treatment they need tonight to get him ready because guess what? Pat Bev just said it. They're going to need him tomorrow to be the killer in the first quarter, in the first half that he's been, and to help lead this team to a win to tie this series up.
So then, Vince, what went wrong for Golden State in the fourth last night? Because it was an absolute drubbing. Boston outscored them 23-11.
There it is, 11 points. They couldn't get stops, but they weren't scoring either. And we talk about the great third quarters that the Golden State Warriors have, and they scored 33 points, if I'm not mistaken, Warriors that is, in the third quarter, and couldn't follow it up with at least a 20-25 point quarter. 11 points is not going to get it done in this series. And when you're talking about a Golden State Warrior team that can shoot the ball and score in bunches, when you score 11 points, that's not going to get it done against a great defense like the Boston Celtics, who, by the way, was scoring as well.
Yeah, I just can't fathom it, Pat Bev. How does a team like the Warriors, with all these weapons, with Curry having a pretty good scoring game, Clay having a good scoring game as well, coming back, how do they score 11 in the fourth? 11.
I think their energy was kind of taken out of them that first quarter. I think that, Celtics came out, hit them right in the mouth, didn't really waste no time with that. I think that, Golden State, the energy that it takes to recover from that third quarter, they came back, they came out swinging. I don't know if they had a lot of energy left. Obviously, we speak about Draymond. I'm a guy who plays with a lot of emotion. I mentioned, me and Vince talked about this a couple days ago. I think he was emotional last game. Instead of playing with the emotion, I think he was emotional and kind of bled out on their team. And when you see a calmer Draymond Green, you see a calmer Golden State, and you kind of seen him kind of frantic and kind of rushing in that fourth quarter.
Okay, so that's interesting because you're talking about emotion, but he was more emotional rather than being effective with that emotion.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And trust me, like I told VC, I'm the guy who plays with a ton of emotion too. So it's kind of a fine line trying to understand that, but I think game 2, he came out, he got the first jump ball, he didn't say a word, I think this game, something happened, he went right at the refs, and I'm not saying that's what it is, I just said it's a lot of energy that's been taken away from him instead of adding that on the basketball floor.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. When we speak about Draymond, he finished with 9 combined points, rebounds, and assists last night. Folks, that's not good. Not even close to good. It was the first time in his career that he started a playoff game and finished with fewer than 10 combined points, rebounds, and assists. And take a listen to what he said about the Boston crowd after the game.
No, they're just talking. not really my job to react to them. So they did what I expected.
How do you feel you played?
Like,
Say what you want to say. He's honest, and you got to love that about him.
Yeah.
What went wrong for you, Vince, for Draymond in Game 3? Pat Bev saying he was emotional, he had the emotion, but he wasn't channeling it in the way he needed to.
And that's the thing. It's a fine line. I think when he plays with emotion, and sometimes when he is emotional, he also is aggressive on the offensive end. And I think they need him to be aggressive on the offensive end. And what I mean by that, in Draymond terms, meaning attacking the rim, maybe not always scoring the ball or shooting. We need him to shoot the ball when he's open, being aggressive, getting downhill, either laying it up or making plays, because on some of those dribble handoff keeps, he gets layups. Well, it keeps the defense honest, and now that sets up open shots. I thought Klay played well. I thought Steph played well, but they needed those extra baskets, particularly in the fourth quarter, to really get them going. And I think once he kind of got in foul trouble, it took some of the steam and the fight out of him. Yes, he's aggressive, but he's trying to stay on the floor. And as you said, he got his sixth foul because he was trying to protect Steph down there at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, good point. So what kind of bounce back do you expect from Draymond in Game 4?
I mean, he's a champion. He's Midwest guy, so I don't think it's going to be a letdown. I just think that he's going to show up when the time needed. I don't know, and every game presents something different. But with Draymond, it's just playing quick, playing with very, not being emotional, having them getting their sets, playing quick in transition. I mean, these are all the things Draymond does, and getting in foul trouble, not catching your rhythm, getting some techs, getting into it with Grant Williams early. Yeah, that's what Boston loves. You're Boston, you love that. So.
Vince, let me ask you another question here as I look at it. When I saw the game last night, you know what I saw? I saw a lot of athleticism, a lot of size on Boston's end, and I didn't see a lot of that, because there isn't a lot of that, on Golden State's end. Is there too much put on Draymond Green to really handle all that size, all that work inside they were doing last night?
Golden State has shown that they can handle it, though. And they sometimes, what Golden State has done in Game 2 in the win, they took away the athleticism by being aggressive. They were the aggressive.
I mean,
look at this. Watch him drop that. Tatum in traffic. Celtics take a 10-point lead. And then, oh boy, here we go. But look at this. Steph Curry, everybody going for the ball. Looks like Al Horford rolls on his leg as everybody dives for it. Draymond Green pushing Marcus Smart out the way, gets his sixth foul. Curry in pain. Celtics win at 116-100. Here's Curry and Klay on Curry's injury.
Foot sprain, essentially. That's what it felt like, and then I'll see how it responds. So, not much other to say. I don't feel like I'll miss a game, though, so take advantage of these next 48 hours to get ready.
Well, we need him if we want to win this thing, and I know Steph's going to do everything he can in his power to play, so I am really hoping he's okay, because he is our identity, and without him, it will be very difficult.
Wow, we need him if we want to win this thing. Jay Will now in. Jay Will, what is your concern level for Steph's injury?
Oh, of course you're worried. I mean, have you ever had somebody who's 6'9", 245 pounds bang into your leg? I mean, it feels
Roll
different.
Up right on it, yeah.
It feels different. So obviously you hope he can play, because he's playing at an MVP finals level. Look, Steph's legacy has always been cemented to me. I start getting annoyed at that conversation. Here's what I will say, Pat Bev, though. Coming off an injury like this, if he's able to continue to play this way, if he's able to lead this team after playing this way, obviously with his teammates carrying him, it adds a different pop to it if he's able to do it. It raises the stakes a little bit for him.
Makes him even more of a legend.
Because he's 6'2". He's 6'2", $190. Like, that's not, LeBron is 6'9", like 6'9", 265. Like, these guys are different. He's more like a normal human being.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pat Bev, I look at this, I see this injury. I know he's got 48 hours to get ready, but when you see him, if he's not who he was before the injury, how do the Warriors then maneuver around that?
No, I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's that deep. Obviously, Jay Will hit on it. Someone fell on his foot, leg, whatever the case may be. Still played through it. Steve Kerr announced that he took him out just because they were down, not because he was hurt. So I expect him to come back. I expect him to come back and be Steph and kind of lead this team towards a championship, because if he don't, good night. Put them boys to sleep for real, because they need him. But obviously everyone in the world knows that also.
Vince, looks like you're thinking the same thing. As you look at this Steph and this injury, how are you looking at how this plays out in Game 4?
I mean, they both said it and they hit it, right on the head. Steph's going to play. He understands how important this is. If it's a regular season game and he's not feeling well, he would sit out. This is for all the marbles, and it's a lot riding on Game 4 for the Golden State Warriors. So they need the catalyst. Clay said it. He's the guy that makes this engine run. Yes, I understand it's Draymond as far as his emotion, his leader, but offensively, when Steph is out there, he creates and he opens a lot of opportunities out there. So I expect him to play and still play well.
You guys have so much confidence. I think my issue is his specialty is moving without the ball. Obviously, the offense is there. But if he can't move like that, if you're not chasing him all around the court, doesn't that fundamentally change what the Warriors do on offense? Just real quick.
Yeah, obviously it does. But I just look at the history of their training staff.
Okay.
Their training staff, they got Clay back. They got guys who've been hurt. They got them back quickly as possible. So you got to credit their training staff. They've been, a subpar healthy team this year. And I think they're ready for whatever it takes to have him back.
By the way, real quick, BC, before you go, congratulations to Boston for winning the damn game first.
Yes.
I just want to say that. Like, I know we're talking about Steph.
Goes without saying.
Boston won the game now.
Absolutely.
Just want to say that.
And Vince, I know you want to jump in. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I think my question to you, Ryan, is he hurt like that? Was he hurt like that where he couldn't perform at that level? I just think it was already out of hand. They had him out there running and doing whatever, but I felt like they pulled him because they didn't want to risk any more injury or something worse happens by maybe somebody else dies for a loose ball, more so than he couldn't go any further, any longer.
Okay.
And Ryan, there is a difference between being hurt and being injured. We are talking about the NBA Finals.
Right. It's like where everybody's a little bit dinged up, but still. Let's talk about Draymond, because last night I found this really interesting. He had an interesting exchange with a reporter who asked him if he's giving away game strategies on his podcast. Take a listen.
I don't say much different on the podcast than I say to you right here. So, nah. What's the X's and O's that I said on the podcast? You all right?
Yeah, actually, the only real thing I noticed that really stood out was you talked about how to cover White, Smart, and Horford differently between games 1 and 2. That was really the only.
Oh yeah, that was just contesting shots. If that's X's and O's, then you reaching for something. It's all good though. Keep going. Reaching heavy.
This is such a casual take to me. Mm-hmm. Like, it's such a casual thing.
What do you mean?
So, Draymond's been doing his pod since November 15, 2021. So, do we want to say he was giving away strategies after he was probably the best player on the court and impacted the game in Game 2? Like, I didn't hear any of that. Like, it's such low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Like, he played a horrible game. Like, I'm not condoning him not playing a horrible game, right? His stat line was not good. But, like, let's stop with this little stuff like, whoa, you have the pod and you're giving away tactics. Like, get out of here with that. That's such an outlandish, outdated way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough time in your day to do a 2-hour pod and still stay committed to your craft. Let's say you were on the court for 8 hours. You slept for another 8 hours. You did your pod for 2 hours. Still 6 hours left in the day.
Yeah.
Like, I just get so frustrated with those stuff like that.
But that's how it is, because Draymond he beats everyone to the punch before they can throw it. So when Draymond comes and says I play bad, now you really don't have another question to ask him.
It takes all the
So now you
takes all the wind out.
Right now you want to ask him the little tedious stuff about this and that. So that's all for the birds.
As we were playing that sound, Vince was looking like, what are we talking about here? Vince, I saw you smiling, laughing. Go ahead.
And Pat Bev, to add to it, it's just like, okay, he asked the question and he said it. Then his rebuttal was, okay, what actually did I say? He said, yeah, you was talking about how to cover him. And he said, contesting shots. Okay, so now he feels crazy. So, I mean, it's just, and he said other things, that would consider maybe worse than that. And would that be considered? No, I mean, he's just like, we have to guard better. And it's the truth. He didn't say anything. I mean, anybody knows that. You don't have to play in the league to see that they needed to guard better. contest the three, protect the three-point line. Like, that's not giving away strategy.
It comes down to this thing. I think what the reporter was trying to highlight there is this idea of distraction. And Jay, well, you mentioned it. It's like if you're doing something else, there might be a distraction there. Are you giving away strategy? Are you doing something like that?
Is it a distraction as an NBA player while you're practicing to build a business at the same time? Oh, because I just saw them bring Adam Silver on the pregame show last night and praise LeBron James for building $1 billion industry. Is it a distraction for a kid who's getting NIL deals while he's participating in college sports? Oh, no, you're building, you can do both at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And to add to that, too, like, as basketball players, only reason you get invited to the podium if you have a good game. So he didn't have a good game. Like, they invited him up there clearly for some type of energy that they want to put on the media the next day. So you just have to be cautious of that because, it's always the top three guys who play well. It's not, they want Draymond on there because, after a loss, he might say something crazy that can add to this feud.